Hello, fellow Shinobi fans. Today, we're exploring an exciting what-if scenario. What if Naruto unlocked the power of an ice dragon in the Forest of Death? Let's dive into this frozen adventure together. It was a night like any other in the hidden village of the Leaf, also known as Konoha. Well, it wasn't really just any night. Today was October 10th, the day when 4 blonde siblings were born to one of the strongest and most feared women in the ninja world, Kushina Uzumaki. However, on that day, a strange masked man attacked the mother of the children, releasing the strongest of all Bijuu, the Kyuubi no Yoko. Fortunately, the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, drove away the masked man and managed to seal the Bijuu inside 3 of her children, whom I'll introduce. The first was a short-haired blonde with 3 whisker-like marks on each side of her face and blue eyes, named Mito Namikaze Uzumaki, who had the yang chakra of the fox sealed within her. The second was identical, almost a twin to the other blonde, with slightly longer hair and pigtails, named Naruto, with 2 whisker-like marks on each side of her face. Her chakra was sealed with yang. The third was a lively, blonde kid with messy hair, 2 whisker-like marks on each side of his face, and the soul of the Bijuu. His name was Menma Uzumaki. And lastly, a blonde with shorter hair and 3 whisker-like marks on each side of his face, named Naruto Uzumaki. He was the only one among them without any of the Bijuu sealed within him. During their early years, the lives of the 4 siblings were quite happy and peaceful, until their parents noticed that the brothers of the last one began to show signs of using the Bijuu's chakra. This led to all the attention being focused on them, leaving the young blonde completely alone. In the present, everyone at the Hokage mansion was celebrating the birthdays of the 3 Jinchuriki siblings, without realizing that someone was missing. That someone was Naruto, who, at the age of 6, tired of being ignored and feeling unappreciated, decided to leave the village, thinking that no one would notice his departure. Well, to be precise, only one person did notice. This person, who had retired from the ninja world, was a great comrade of the 3rd Hokage in his youth, known by the nickname the War Hawk, Danzo Shimura, the founder of the now dissolved organization Root. He had created it to turn ninjas into perfect emotionless weapons, but thanks to the 3rd Hokage, he saw that this path only led to darkness and retired from the ninja world, enjoying his retirement. You might wonder how the old War Hawk met the boy. Well, the old soldier was taking a night stroll when he found the young blonde rummaging through the garbage like a scrawny dog. The old man approached the boy and was initially surprised, thinking it was Menma, but upon closer inspection, he realized it was a different child. The boy told him his name, shocking the old shinobi that the 4th Hokage had another child. From then on, he treated the young boy like his grandson, but he couldn't help but be furious with the Uzumaki Namikaze family for forgetting the boy. Despite the pain, he knew that the boy would leave the village at the first opportunity, so he decided to prepare him for any dangerous situation. He taught him survival techniques, basic ninja skills, reading, writing, mathematics, essentially the basic education of a ninja and any child. And now, we find ourselves on the outskirts of the Forest of Death, where the second stage of the Chunin exams is held. The blonde chose this place to avoid being seen leaving the village and reported to the Hokage, even though they were at his brother's birthday party. Naruto, goodbye, Danzo, I hope to see you soon. He said with a smile, waving his hand. Danzo, farewell, Naruto. Write to me when you can, and be cautious about who you talk to. He said, bidding farewell with a smile, though deep down, he was torn to see his adopted grandson leave. Naruto, don't worry, I'll be careful. He said, disappearing into the forest to start his journey to a new home. Several hours later, the blonde decided to make a campfire and rest until morning to continue his journey when he sensed something behind him. Then he saw it. A dark sphere with hints of red, emitting a reddish-black gas. The blonde, wary and with a kunai in his hand, approached the strange energy orb to see what it was. It seems my heir has found me. Said a voice from the sphere, surprising the blonde with its ability to speak. I know what you're thinking, Naruto. How can a lifeless thing like me talk? Well, to understand, you'll have to see it. This puzzled Naruto, who didn't understand what was happening. Then, the gas moved toward the blonde, and he couldn't prevent it from entering his mouth, ears, and eyes, while the sphere started to vanish. Once the sphere disappeared, and all the gas had entered the blonde's body, he fell unconscious with blank eyes, giving the impression of being dead. The blonde then began to open his eyes to find himself in a different place, where everything was dark, and the only light seemed to be emanating from him. Naruto, where am I? He wondered, looking around in the limited light. We are inside your mind, Naruto. Said the voice from earlier, making the blonde turn and almost jump out of his skin. In front of him was a humanoid creature over 3 meters tall, with horns on its head, a short monkey-like tail, and dark skin. Its eyes were red, it was bald, and it had enormous teeth capable of breaking even the strongest bones. Its face was somewhat human, but with white bluish protrusions on its nose. Naruto, what? What are you? Are you going to eat me? He said while the huge creature chuckled at the blonde's fear. Calm down, Naruto. I've only come to give you your true power. Surprising the blonde. Naruto, my true power? He said, puzzled. That's right, but first, I have to tell you the whole story. Said as he sat down, and Naruto did the same, keeping some distance. Let's see, where should I start? Oh yes, Naruto, we belong to one of the most powerful demon species in history, the Akuma no Saru, devil monkeys, surprising the blonde. For a long time, we were the dominant species in hell, but due to a war with the Akuma no Rion, devil lions, and other species, we had to send our descendants to the human world to prevent those bastards from killing them, and you were among those descendants, Naruto. He said, impressing the blonde, who frowned in annoyance. In the end, we won the war, but our world was so destroyed that only the descendants we sent to the human world could survive. He said with sadness in his voice. Naruto, wait, are you saying that you? That's right. What you see right now is a bit of energy that I stored in your DNA to be able to talk to you. He said to the surprised blonde. I also thought you would have a better life here, but I was wrong. Can you believe it? You were abandoned by your family just because you're Jinchurikis. Surprising the blonde. Naruto, how did you? I've been inside you since you were born, Naruto. I've seen every detail of your life. He said to the speechless blonde. Well, I think it's time for me to go. Don't worry, when you wake up, you'll notice the changes, and your own genetics will inform you of the rest. He said as his body began to disappear. By the way, my name is Maku, and there are 3 females like you. He said to the blonde, who couldn't say goodbye as Maku abruptly left his real passage. In the real world, the blonde was still in the same unconscious position as at the beginning, but with the difference that the reddish and dark energy that had entered his body began to surround him, and the boy started to undergo changes. His muscles grew larger and more defined, his teeth were replaced by fangs, and finally, his hair, once blonde, was now blood red with touches of black. His blue eyes turned the same color as his hair, and his skin became darker and more tanned. The now red-haired boy looked in amazement at his new appearance in a stream while feeling how he had become stronger, and the genetic combat memories flooded his mind, revealing that the Saru were masters of taijutsu, although they excelled in other fields as well, but their taijutsu was incredibly brutal. He also discovered that, apart from chakra, he now had a new source of energy, the power of demons, which allowed him to assume the original form of his relatives. At this moment, according to the check the red-haired boy conducted, his energy sources, both chakra and demonic energy separately, were on par in quantity with the Kyubi no Yoko. This amazed the red-haired boy, but he knew that in his current state, he could only use the taijutsu of his species, he needed a mentor. But where? The first option was to join another village, with Konoha being ruled out for obvious reasons. Iwa was a definite no-go, as even as a red-haired boy, the whisker-like marks on his face would give away that he was an Uzumaki, and the hatred of the villagers for Minato due to the Third War was still strong. Suna was complicated, as they had an alliance with Konoha, and the last thing he wanted was to move from one village to another. Ado? Absolutely not. Orochimaru and his pedophilic snake were there, thanks to the stealth techniques he learned from Danzo and some of his scrolls. Kumo was too far, and Kiri? Highly unlikely, as they were in a civil war. The truth was that he had a tough time choosing. He thought about it for an hour until he sensed a presence a few meters behind him to his left. Naruto, come out. I know you're there, whoever you are. Or is a 6-year-old scaring you? He said, provoking the hidden person, and it worked. The person was tall, with the lower part of their face covered with bandages, carrying a huge sword on their back that the red-haired boy recognized immediately. Standing in front of him was one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, Zabuza Momochi. Zabuza, well, kid, you've got guts to talk like that to a stranger. How did you know I was here? He asked, curious about being detected. Naruto, I'm good at sensing others' presence. The red-haired boy said with a serious look at the swordsman. Zabuza, a sensor, he thought with a smile. Kid, what are you doing alone in this forest? It's not a place for a child to camp. The swordsman said to the red-haired boy. Naruto, I left the village. He said, surprising the mist swordsman. Zabuza, and why is that? He said, still amazed that a child would leave the village. Naruto, should I tell you? He said, causing the swordsman to raise an eyebrow. Not to offend you, but I don't know you. Well, I know your name but not much else. I don't know your intentions, despite your apparent curiosity. The boy said, serious, surprising the swordsman. Zabuza, the kid is smarter than I thought, Momochi thought. You're right, kid. Actually, I was on a mission. He said, looking seriously at the boy. But before I go, what's your name? He asked, curious. Naruto, Naruto. Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki, unfortunately. He said, leaving the mist swordsman stunned. Before him was the son of one of the most powerful shinobi in the world. Zabuza, if I take this kid to the base and ask for a ransom, we could make a lot of money, he thought when something clicked in his head. Wait a moment, he said unfortunately. I don't understand. With a family like that, he should be a king. Wait, now that I think about it, he said he left the village. Could it be? The swordsman thought, and the answer that came to him was not something he liked. Kid, by any chance, were you abused? He asked, with a vein pulsating on his forehead. Naruto, no, he said, missing the swordsman, I simply don't matter to them. Surprising the swordsman, who was about to ask more questions, but he knew the red-haired one wouldn't talk so easily and didn't trust him. Zabuza, listen, kid, would you like to come with me to Kiri? There, you can have a place to call home. Surprising the red-haired one. Naruto, but isn't Kiri in a civil war? He asked, puzzled. Zabuza, yes, but I think it's better than wandering under the constant threat of attack, and we have a well-hidden base. Said the swordsman. The red-haired one could sense some compassion and kindness in the swordsman, but he wasn't entirely convinced. Naruto, which side are you on? He asked Momochi, who looked at him calmly. Zabuza, rebel. He said while the red-haired one looked curious. Naruto, all right. He said, surprising Momochi slightly. But I warn you, if you try anything, I won't make it easy for you to kill me. He said with a challenging look. Zabuza, we'll see. He said, standing tall. Can you run on trees? The swordsman asked. Naruto, I won't say I can't. He said calmly, starting to follow the swordsman through the trees. The duo jumped from tree to tree for several hours until they left the forest and reached a foggy area, so the blonde predicted it could be the outskirts of Kiri. Upon reaching a point in the foggy area, the swordsman asked the red-haired one to wait for a moment, which made the red-haired one raise an eyebrow with some suspicion and tense muscles. A few minutes later, the swordsman returned with a group of people, and the red-haired one recognized one of them. The person the red-haired one recognized was a woman with long orange hair that covered one of her green eyes. This woman was Mei Terumi, the leader of the rebellion. Beside her was a man with an eye patch over his right eye and grayish hair. This man was Ao, Mei's assistant. Then there were three boys. The first, with white hair named Suigetsu, the second with grayish hair named Chojuro, both of them carrying some kind of swords on their backs and sharp teeth like a shark. Mei, so, it's true, she said, looking at the red-haired one. But there's something that doesn't add up. As far as I know, all of the fourth's children are blonde. She said, making her subordinates tense up at the possible threat. Naruto, that's because of a seal that suppressed a large part of my chakra. If I had been born with all my chakra at once, I would have died. But, thanks to a friend who passed away a few months ago from natural causes, he removed the seal and properly restored all my chakra. That, in turn, released my Uzumaki genes, resulting in this red and black hair. He said, touching his red hair. Mei, ow. She said, getting her subordinate's attention. Verify if it's true. Don't worry, let him see it. She said while the gray-haired one removed the eye patch, revealing a white eye that the red-haired one recognized immediately. Naruto, Byakugan, how did he get it? The red-haired one wondered as Ao inspected him and then looked terrified. Ow, Mei-sama, the gray-haired one said, terrified. This kid is almost as much chakra as the QB. Shocking everyone present except the smiling red-haired one. Suigetsu, is this a joke? The white-haired one said, very frightened. Naruto, and that's not all, is it? He said with a smile, showing those fangs that, along with his red eyes, gave chills to more than one. Mei, ow, what does that mean? She asked the terrified ninja. Ow, he has something else. Another source of energy, wilder and more violent, possibly even more powerful than his chakra. Surprising those present with what they were hearing, the kid not only had a monstrous amount of chakra, but also another power source that could be even more potent. Terumi tried to calm down in the face of so much information and looked seriously at the red-haired one who was looking at her with a smile. "May, kid, we would like to hear the whole story," she said as the Uzumaki sat down and began to tell them about his life in Konoha, realizing he had no way out. It's worth mentioning that many were disappointed by the Hokage and his wife's behavior, but a murderous instinct sent shivers down the spines of those present, including the red-haired one who looked at the cause of that urge to kill, turning out to be the rebellion leader Mei Terumi. "Mei Terumi, I swear, if I see those two, I'm going to punch each of them so hard they'll end up in Iwa," she said with trembling fists before calming down. "All right, Naruto-kun, I suppose you're here to join us, right?" she said as the red-haired one nodded with an anime-style sweat drop on his head. "We'll show you the base and take care of giving you the necessary education. Despite your great amount of energy, you lack experience and technique," she said as everyone followed the red-haired one to the base without saying anything, fearing something might go wrong. "Naruto, this woman is scary. Now I understand what the old man meant by there's nothing more dangerous than female anger," the red-haired one thought with several sweat drops on his head, just like the rest of the men following their leader. Once they entered the base, the red-haired one was surprised by how spacious it was, even though from the outside, it seemed like a small cave. Then, a guy with black hair approached the group, first greeting the swordsman with bandages on his face. "Haku, hello, Zabuza-san," said the guy with black hair, while the red-haired one detected a strange scent from him. "Zabuza, Haku, have you progressed a lot in your training?" said while the guy nodded happily. "Mei, Haku, let me introduce you to Naruto Uzumaki. He'll be one of your new teammates," she said as the black-haired one blushed when seeing the red-haired one. "Naruto, this is Haku." "Haku, nice to meet you, Naruto," said Bashful, bowing his head with respect. "Naruto, the pleasure is mine, miss," surprising those present. "Haku, I'm sorry, but I'm a boy," he said a bit nervous. "Naruto, that might be believable if your body didn't release estrogen, a female hormone responsible for female body growth," surprising them even more. "Haku, how did you?" "Naruto, my sense of smell is superior to ordinary humans. I could smell an ant's trail from about 20 kilometers away," amazing them even further. "Ow, this kid is more than he seems. First, that enormous chakra, then that other energy, and now super smell. What else is he hiding?" wondered the owner of the white eye. After that little incident, the red-haired one, along with his assistants and the blushing black-haired one, entered the leader's main office, where she took her seat. "Mei, well, Naruto-kun, these men and I will take care of educating you in various fields. You'll be in the same class as Haku and some other guys. We'll put you on a trial period because we don't know you, and I know you don't trust us, Naruto. But we just want to end this senseless war and return to the home that was taken from us," said the red-haired one with determination, making it impossible for some tears not to escape from her, just like the black-haired one. The red-haired one with black touches could feel the pain in those present. He didn't know much about Kiri, only that Yagura had gone crazy and started killing all people with Kekkei Genkai, bloodline limit, and that made him angry because his human clan also had Kekkei Genkai. "Naruto, alright, I accept the conditions, but if someone gets on my nerves, I won't hesitate to defend myself," he said with a smile, making those present smile as well. After that, Ao and Haku took the red-haired one to the class where the other students were. It's worth noting that when the girls saw him, they blushed quite a bit, while the boys looked at him strangely because of his unique hair color. It didn't take long for a white-haired guy with sharp teeth and a large sword on his back to approach the new student in the class. "Sensei, who's this walking flag?" he said, angering the black-haired one. "Ow, show some respect, Suigetsu. He's your new classmate, Naruto Uzumaki," said quite annoyed with one of his students. "Naruto, don't worry, Ow, it's normal that Snowflake is scared of me, my appearance is intimidating," he said, smiling and showing his fangs, while the others laughed at the nickname he gave to the annoying albino. "Suigetsu, who are you calling Snowflake, rotten tomato?" he said, quite angry. "Naruto, who else would I be calling Snowflake?" the red-haired one said challengingly. "Suigetsu, get ready, you're dead," he said, drawing his sword. "Naruto, whenever you want. He said in a taijutsu stance that caught Ao's attention. It's the same stance Goku adopts in a fight. Haku, you, said but was stopped by the teacher. Ao-sensei, she said puzzled. Ao, let them be, Haku. I want to see what Naruto can do. He said as the black-haired one looked at the blonde one with concern. Suigetsu was very skilled in genjutsu. Next to Chojuro, he was the best among the young ones. The albino dashed at the red-haired one at great speed, but the red-haired one dodged the attack with a big smile, then kicked his opponent, who blocked with his sword and was sent flying to the other side of the classroom. When the white-haired one looked up, he noticed the red-haired one wasn't there. Suigetsu/Haku/Ao, where is he? Is what they thought, along with the rest of the class. Thanks to his instinct, the white-haired one narrowly avoided a punch from above by the red-haired one, who smashed a desk and part of the classroom floor, surprising everyone that someone so young had such strength. The red-haired one attacked the white-haired one again, who could only repel or dodge his opponent's attacks, as he was too fast to leave an opening. The Uzumaki was smiling. It was his first fight, and he felt the rush of adrenaline coursing through his body, showing the fighting spirit of his clan. He only hoped not to transform yet because, apart from not having much trust in the people around him, the chances of losing control were high, and he didn't want to harm any innocents. Ao was impressed to see the red-haired one putting the swordsman in serious trouble, who was one of the strongest in the class. Haku was in the same state as her teacher but also marveled at the red-haired one without a shirt, showing his well-developed muscles for his age while smiling and displaying his fangs, giving him a very wild and attractive look. Suigetsu, on the other hand, was in trouble. The red-haired one hit hard, and he seemed barely tired. In fact, it seemed that as time passed, he got more excited and eager to fight. The red-haired one, amidst the assault he gave to the white-haired one, stepped back to a safe distance, from which he observed his opponent, breathing heavily. The red-haired one smiled slightly, encouraging his rival to attack with his hands. The albino was surprised by this act and got angry when he realized his opponent was mocking him. Suigetsu, damn you, he shouted, launching himself furiously towards the red-haired one, who smiled when he got what he wanted. Ao was surprised, not by the white-haired one's outburst of anger, but that the red-haired one managed to provoke him into leaving an opening. Before the swordsman's blade could reach him, the red-haired one made a quick move, dodging his opponent's sword, and then grabbing him by the shirt and swinging him in the air before throwing him to the ground, destroying another desk and the floor beneath it, all with a single arm. The white-haired one tried to get up, in pain, and then saw the red-haired one pointing his own sword at his neck, leaving those present quite surprised. Suigetsu, when did you grab it? He said, surprised. Naruto, when I grabbed you by the shirt before you hit the ground. If you hadn't been carried away by my provocation, the outcome might have been different. You're lucky we're allies, an enemy wouldn't have been so merciful. He said, walking back to where Ao and Haku were. Haku, Naruto-kun, that was amazing. The young one said with stars in her eyes. Ao, I agree with Haku, Naruto, that was impressive. He said with a slight smile. Naruto, I don't think it was that big of a deal. He said, scratching his head a little, a bit nervous because of the blushing look from the black-haired one and the other girls. For several days, the red-haired one learned various techniques and fighting styles, both in class and separately. Mei and her tutors were impressed by how quickly he learned ninjutsu, genjutsu, kenjutsu, and especially fuinjutsu, the Uzumaki specialty. However, he excelled the most in taijutsu, his favorite part and where the Akuma no Saru stood out, becoming stronger and more lethal every day. Mei, Naruto-kun, come here. She said, getting the red-haired one's attention. Naruto, what's happening, Mei? The boy said curiously. Mei, tonight you will sleep in my room, she said, surprising everyone and making Haku a little jealous. Naruto, are you really going to sleep in the same room as me? He asked and later received a punch on the head. Mei, of course not, she said with a red face, while those present murmured things about the orange-haired girl. And what are you looking at? She said with an angry look, making everyone return to their duties. In the orange-haired girl's room, the red-haired boy was trying to sleep, which was extremely difficult due to the rebellion leader's charm, not to mention that more than once it crossed his mind to get closer to her. Naruto, darn it, these emotions, he thought, trying to control his feelings without being aware that the orange-haired girl was conscious. Mei, is he really just a boy? She thought, blushing when she felt a noticeable lump near her. One day, the red-haired man and the leader of the resistance were walking to a secret location to collect some supplies to support the troops, as well as weapons for the shinobi. "Mei, are you okay, Naruto?" the orange-haired girl said with a hint of concern. "Naruto, I only remember a few lessons from this morning," the thoughtful red-haired boy said, recalling what his classmates had told him. Flashback. The blonde boy sat with Haku, Suigetsu, and Chojuro, who had been close friends for a long time. They chatted among themselves when the girl in the group decided to speak up. "Haku, well, Naruto-kun, why do you want to be a ninja?" the black-haired girl asked, catching Naruto's attention. "Naruto, why do you ask?" he said, while enjoying his bowl of ramen, which the red-haired boy found delightful. Haku, well, people usually have a reason for wanting to be a ninja, the curious black-haired girl responded to the puzzled red-haired boy. "Naruto, what's yours?" he asked with curiosity. "Haku, I want to protect my friends and Zabuza-san," she said with a big smile. "Naruto, and why is that?" he asked, quite intrigued. "Haku, you see, having a Kekkei Genkai, my parents tried to assassinate me," she said, sounding a bit sad, stopping the red-haired boy from eating further. "To survive, I unintentionally ended up killing them. Since then, I wandered aimlessly until Zabuza-san found me. He's the closest thing I have to a father," she said with a melancholic smile. "He brought me here, and I got to meet Mei-1-san, Ao-sensei, Suigetsu, and Chojuro, whom I consider my brothers," she said with a cheerful smile. "That's why I want to be a ninja, to protect the people I love," she said with a smile that made the red-haired boy blush a little. "Naruto, and what about you?" he asked the two male companions. "Suigetsu, I want to become the leader of the 7 Mist Swordsmen to honor my brother's death," he said with a big smile. "Naruto, and why is that?" he asked, curious. "Suigetsu, my brother and I opposed Yagura's tyranny, so they labeled us as criminals and hunted us down. One day, we were cornered, and my brother gave his life for me," he said, clenching his fists. "All I could do was run like a coward. Since that day, I promised to end this senseless war and protect the people who matter to me," he said with determination and a big smile. "Chojuro, my parents died in the war while protecting me. Ao-sensei helped me escape, and from that day, I considered him like a second father. I decided to become stronger to protect him, as well as my friends," he said with a big smile. "Haku, and you, Naruto-kun, do you have a goal?" the black-haired girl asked, curious. "Naruto, no idea. I hadn't thought about it until now," he said, quite impressed. "Haku, don't worry, I'm sure you'll find a reason to fight," she said with a big smile. End of flashback. Naruto, so far, my only motivation was to become stronger and meet the surviving females of my species, but what the trio told me has left me quite confused, thought the red-haired boy, lost in his thoughts, which were interrupted when the orange-haired girl signaled him to stop. "Mei, wait here, I'll be right back," she said with a smile, puzzling the red-haired boy a bit. "Naruto, I wonder what she's up to," he said, watching her disappear. Several minutes passed, and the red-haired girl hadn't returned, which made the red-haired boy a little sad. "Naruto, I guess it's time for me to leave. I had a great time with them, but I think they only see me as a weapon to end the war," he thought, leaving the place and entering a forest. Once inside the forest, the red-haired boy wondered where to go now. Maku had mentioned 3 female Saru, but didn't tell him where they were. But the red-haired boy had to snap out of his thoughts when he sensed the presence of some individuals heading toward his location. So he decided to hide to find out what they were planning. After a few minutes, the group arrived, revealing themselves as Yagura's ninja, a total of about 8 guys. "Idiot 1, well, according to my sources, that Mei woman is in this village," said a guy with a mask on his face and a bald head, though he looked quite ugly. "Idiot 2, and with this, we'll surely have some fun," said an extremely ugly, black-haired guy while holding a small frightened girl by the head, who was crying in fear. The red-haired boy's blood started to boil, first because they insulted Mei and second because they were using an innocent girl as leverage. So, without a moment's hesitation, the red-haired boy appeared in front of these jerks. "Idiot 3, who are you, kid?" said a surprised brown-haired guy missing teeth and looking incredibly ugly. "Naruto, I'm the one who's going to make you regret you were ever born, you bastards," he said, revealing his eyes, which were now as white as a sheet of paper or freshly fallen snow, making the Mizukage ninjas quite nervous. And without anyone seeing it coming, the red-haired boy delivered a powerful punch to the idiot holding the girl, knocking him out cold, while catching the girl before she hit the ground. The other shinobi launched an attack against the red-haired boy, who easily fended off their blows, even though they outnumbered, outsized, and outaged him. In the end, the Uzumaki left them all incapacitated without breaking a sweat. Naruto, what a bunch of weaklings. I didn't even have to use any ninjutsu, thought the red-haired boy, disappointed, while the girl clung to his leg. Unfortunately, he didn't anticipate the presence of a ninth ninja who threw several kunai at him from behind. Naruto, darn it, thought the red-haired boy, placing the little girl behind him and covering his face with his arms. But the attack never came, as the orange-haired girl, Mei Terumi, managed to deflect most of the kunai, except for one that hit her leg. Mei, nobody touches my son, she said with fury, leaving the red-haired boy stunned, who was standing still, watching Mei bleed, as 10 more ninjas appeared on the scene. Then the enemy launched an attack on the red-haired boy at such a speed that he couldn't defend himself. Fearing for the safety of the children, the red-haired boy decided to close his eyes and await his fate. But what the red-haired boy saw was that he had sent the ninja who had almost slashed his throat with a kunai flying with a powerful punch, while a dark energy covered his body. Mei, nah. Naruto? She said, catching the red-haired boy's attention, and she gasped, seeing his eyes, once red, were now white with just a small black dot in the center. His fangs had grown larger, and his whisker-like markings had widened. The red-haired boy focused on the remaining enemies and headed towards them at a speed nearly matching that of the fourth Hokage, surprising Terumi. Naruto, no one touches my Mo-Uther. He shouted, causing a shockwave that sent the ninjas tumbling while covering their ears. The red-haired boy, with his fists charged with lightning, punched one of the enemies through the head, then used the guy's intestines, attached a kunai to the end, and used it as a chain to pierce 2 other poor souls, similar to Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, pulling them towards him and delivering a punch to their faces, throwing them to the ground. He finished them with a stomp. The rest were terrified, and what they had witnessed was just raw brute strength. Mei was astonished at what she was seeing and hid the kidnapped girl to shield her from the brutal scene. The red-haired boy gave the remaining enemies a deadly look, and they were thinking of ways to escape this massacre. But the red-haired boy, performing hand seals rapidly, sent a fire dragon towards those who remained, of whom only one managed to dodge the attack. However, he couldn't evade the creature. The red-haired boy delivered a brutal kick to the survivor's back, sending him crashing to the ground. When the smoke cleared, the poor ninja could be seen, bleeding and crawling on the ground in a pool of his blood, trying to escape. Naruto, where do you think you're going? He said with a psychopathic smile, and then he crushed the ninja's head with a stomp, turning it into minced meat. Mei couldn't believe her eyes. The boy had killed 10 elite jounin and defeated 8 others with ease, and he was only 6 years old. The red-haired boy increased in size and muscle mass before reverting to his original size, revealing those red eyes that had previously looked at her with distrust, now with a different sentiment as he approached her. Naruto, is it true? He said, with a few tears in his eyes. Do you see me as your son? He asked with hope. Mei, I wouldn't lie about that, she said, and then hugged the red-haired boy, who couldn't stop crying, while she embraced him tenderly. After that heartwarming encounter, the red-haired boy did his best to treat Mei's wound while helping her to stand, with the little girl they had rescued, who was a year younger than him, assisting with a bag she had brought. Naruto, what's in the bag, Mom? The red-haired boy asked, making his mother and the little girl smile. Mei asked the girl to hand her the bag. Mei, it's for you, my dear, she said, and when he opened it, he found new clothes much better than the ones he had worn, which were horrible and all worn out. Your old clothes were in terrible shape, and you needed new ones, she said as the red-haired boy hugged her with love. Naruto, thank you, Mom, he said, making both his mother and the little girl happy. By the way, he said, looking at the girl, what's your name, little one? He asked, curious. Girl, Akeno. Akeno Mitsuki, the girl replied shyly. Mei, Akeno, where are your parents? Mei asked, her voice filled with sadness, and the red-haired boy figured out what had happened. Akeno, those bad ninjas. She said, tears welling up as Mei and Naruto understood. The red-haired boy gently placed his hand on her head and ruffled her hair. Naruto, don't worry, Akeno-chan. From now on, we'll protect you, he said, making the black-haired girl hug him. Akeno, thank you, Naruto-ni-chan, she said, hugging the red-haired boy, who smiled, as did his mother. Once they arrived at the rebel base, they quickly attended to Mei and the little black-haired girl. The little girl was a bit scared, but the red-haired boy managed to calm her while explaining what had happened and how he had defeated the enemy. This left everyone speechless, as a 6-year-old had taken down about 18 elite jounin without any help. From that day on, the red-haired boy was highly admired at the rebel base. Suigetsu and Chojuro decided not to lag behind and began training to match the Uzumaki. On that day, the mist didn't cover the place as much, and the red-haired boy sat on one of the highest branches of a tree, watching the sunset with a big smile. Naruto, I've decided, I won't just search for the remaining members of my species, I'll protect my mother Mei, little Akeno, Haku, my friends, my family. That's my path. I'll protect them with my life if necessary, he thought with determination, having found a true goal to follow. In Konoha, Danzo felt that the boy he considered his son had left the village in search of a better future and had found the happiness he so deserved. Danzo, something tells me we'll meet again, Naruto, and I'm sure many will be surprised by what they've missed, he said, thinking about how foolish the boy's biological parents had been. But something inside him told him they would meet again and that when they did, Konoha and possibly the 5 elemental nations would tremble. To be continued.